All right, habit 3 is to put first things first. If habit 2 says you're the programmer, then habit 3 is write the program. This is the second creation. As you learned in habit 2, all things are created twice, first in the mind and then in reality. Habit 3, putting first things first, is where you take the steps and actions required to make your vision a reality. This is where we begin examining our daily routines and habits. Ask yourself, what's the most important thing for you in this moment? It's probably your significant other, finishing school, improving your health, or your family, right? It's not checking Facebook or Instagram. So why do we spend so much time doing these useless things, right? We need to get into the habit of putting first things first. Taking the time to focus on what really matters and focusing our efforts on what's going to get us to where we want to be in life. Really start questioning the scripts and the habits in your life. We've all fallen into the vicious cycle of waking up late, eating poorly, leaving late for work, rushing through traffic in a state of stress, being unorganized at work and being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and then getting home, eating fast food because you're tired, and then falling asleep late because you watched some new TV show. And then you wake up late the next day to do it all over again. This is the perfect example of not putting first things first. We could all use a little help in the time management department, right? And we all have a lot to do. So how do we manage time effectively? Usually we all write things down on a giant to-do list, and we tend to go in order from top to bottom with no real priorities. This is not the way. Or you schedule things on a calendar, which is a decent practice, but with one interruption, our whole game can be thrown off. You could also try daily planning based on priorities, but again, one interruption or emergency can mess it all up. Most of us fall into this time management scheme. But there is another way. The best way is to categorize things by urgency and importance. Steven developed a cool quad chart for this, and you need to categorize items in the following. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. This is putting out fires, emergencies, and kind of the reactive mindset. Quadrant 2 is not urgent and important. These are things like your health, exercising, spending time with your family, relationships. We need to put more focus here. These are often neglected activities, and this is where success and balance and growth are found. Quadrant 3 activities are not important and urgent. So most of us spend our time here, right? Interruptions, some meetings, some phone calls, and other people's emergencies. And then quadrant 4 are not important and not urgent. These are a waste of time, busy work, some emails, some phone calls, and so on. You remember the example above of the reactive and unorganized person. Now let's look at an example of someone who puts first things first. Joe wakes up early, exercises for 30 minutes, eats a healthy breakfast, leaves early for work, and has a nice, smooth, and joyful ride. Then Joe works on the important and not urgent things in Quad 2, and he works on emergencies if needed, and then he delegates Quadrant 3 activities and rejects Quadrant 4 tasks. Joe takes a nice relaxing lunch and thinks about the rest of his day and plans his night. At the end of the workday, he closes out tasks and plans things for the next day. He gets home and prepares a healthy meal and then maybe reads before bed. He seems to have more time to think and reflect about his life, and he makes plans on where he wants to end up and who he wants to be. Basically what we did in habit 2, begin with the end in mind. I mean, if you look at these two different examples, it's a huge difference, right? No one on their deathbed wishes they spent more time at work or checked their Facebook more often, right? So again, focus on what's important to you and make it a priority. Commit yourself to it. Now the first 3 habits, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first, are about moving you from being dependent to being independent. They're about self-mastery. They help you become more effective as an individual by developing inner strength, character, purpose, and values. The next 3 habits, which I'll cover in the next video, move you from being independent to being interdependent. Interdependence is the highest level of what Stephen Covey calls the maturity continuum. The maturity continuum consists of 3 levels: dependence, independence, and interdependence. Dependence is like the relationship between a child and a mother, or even sometimes between a boss and employee, if the employee lacks their own inner strength, values, and purpose. It's the attitude of you. To move from dependence to independence, you have to nail those first 3 habits. Be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. This is the attitude of I. Most people think independence is where it's at, right? They think this is the highest level, but in fact, interdependence is the highest level. Interdependence is where you think like a team. Think family, think marriage, right? A team mentality. We accomplish what we want together. It's the attitude of we. We can combine our talents and our abilities to make something even better. Habits 4 through 6 will help you deal with people, how to read the needs of people, how to empathize, and how to cooperate. And keep in mind, you have to move from being dependent to independent before you can truly become interdependent.